Welcome, everybody. My name is Mike Bindrup. I'm with the Office of Extension at UNR Small Business Education Program. And today we're going to be talking about WordPress basics. This is a basic kind of primer class. There's a lot to learn about WordPress, and there's a fairly steep learning curve. So we're going to be covering the basics today that you're going to need as a small business owner, whether you're deciding to venture into WordPress and build your own site, or if you're going to be hiring a designer to do it for you. You'll have these basics so you'll know how it works and how it functions moving forward. All right, so today we're going to talk about, first and foremost, what is WordPress? We're going to talk about themes, plugins, design frameworks, the actual interface of WordPress, and then an action plan for you as a small business owner. So what's WordPress? WordPress is a free and open source content management system. Okay, created in 2003. It's a CMS. It was written in a couple different languages. It was written in PHP, but it uses MySQL or MariaDB databases. It's a content management system that uses databases in order to run. It's a system that's based on templates and themes. So it's based on themes and plugins. Originally, WordPress was designed to be a blog publishing system. But eventually, over the last 15 years, it's evolved to be a full website creation platform. So it can serve a variety of different options for you as a small business person that can do mailing lists, forums, media galleries, membership sites, even online stores and learning management systems. WordPress has to be installed on a web server. So it's an open source platform. It must be installed on your web server through your hosting company. And one of the positive things about WordPress is it's 41% of the top 10 million websites run WordPress. Okay, so it's very there's some good advantages to it, but there's a lot of websites that use it, and it scales very easily. So there's some pros and some cons to using WordPress. One of the pros is that it uses themes and plugins. That's what it really is powered by. So there's tons of themes and plugins available for your business. It's very SEO friendly because it was originally created to as a blogging platform. Blogs are naturally search engine optimization friendly, and because of its structure and its architecture, it does the same thing. A lot more right out the box than other type of sites that you might build.
Mike, can you talk about what is CEO?
Oh, SEO? SEO
yes.
is search engine optimization. It's how easily you get found on Google. Okay. Blogs by nature, because you're typing words in, Google looks for keywords. And if you have certain keywords that you talk about frequently on your website, Google ranks you higher because that content is there. That's why it's great to have a blog on your site. That's probably the best thing that you can do to help you get found on Google naturally without paying for it, what they call organic search. If you frequently update a blog, you get found. That's why social media platforms are great, also SEO friendly for your business, and you should be on those as well. It should be part of your overall marketing strategy. But the optimization of your site uses keywords and examples. And pages have to be optimized in a certain way so that Google finds them easier. There must be a certain hierarchy to how things are coded essentially in the end, because the whole web runs on HTML. And we don't have to code in WordPress, which is great. There's no coding that you have to do. I mean, you can get in there and do it, but it's SEO friendly because that's all kind of done in the background for you. Okay. It's also really easy to find designers and developers because everybody understands WordPress and they know it, and it's not like you have to explain to somebody how the platform works. Any designer or web developer understands and probably works in WordPress because it powers about half of the web. So the cons to WordPress. Like I said, there's a very steep learning curve to WordPress. If you've ever tried to jump in there and just kind of see how it works, it's going to take some time and some learning to do this. We're hoping to demystify it a little bit today, so you feel at least a little comfortable with what it is and how it works. and kind of the interface of it. Now, there are some installation issues when you self-host. So self-host means you have a hosting account that you purchase. So you rent space on a host someplace, you get your domain name. You then have to install WordPress over that hosting platform. Now, most hosting platforms have kind of automatic one-click installers that you can install WordPress. But I mean, 10 years ago, we didn't have any of that stuff, and there was all sorts of issues because you had to download WordPress, and then you had to use an FTP program to upload it into your server space that you had with your hosting account. And if you put things in the wrong place, it messes stuff up, and then you can't see it, and all of a sudden your site's down, you don't know what's going on. So installation issues can be difficult with self-hosting, depends who your host is. Also, customization can be difficult. There's, because you're not coding the site, you do have to follow the themes and plugins, and you can get stuff where you want it to about 75, 80% of the time. If you want more than that, you have to have a developer that can code it and put it exactly where you want it to go or how you want it to look exactly. So sometimes customization can be difficult. And also, one of the pros of WordPress is that it has so many themes and plugins available, and it's also one of the cons to WordPress because most themes and plugins have a cost to them, and themes and plugins are developed by third-party application developers. So there's thousands of themes and plugins, and they may not all talk together or work together well. So sometimes there's conflicts. When WordPress has to be updated because it's constantly being improved, and so you have to install new versions of WordPress. A new version can knock out some of your plugins that you have that make your site run a little more optimally. And so suddenly your site could be working great, and then one day to the next, you update a plugin or you update WordPress or you update your theme, and all of a sudden you have things that don't work. Okay, so that's as a developer, that's some of the stuff that we deal with quite often when just stuff breaks and you have to figure workarounds or updates to make sure what happens. I had one recently with a client where we had upgraded the version of WordPress, and it literally knocked the backup function of the site out. We had a plugin that was doing backups for the site, and it knocked the backup function out of the site entirely, just like overnight. And so that was a concern. And when we figured it out, we had to go back in and do some other workarounds. We had to install other plugins that did the same type of thing. So there's a lot of research you have to do to make sure that all works. So there can be some conflicts to that type of stuff. And you have to pay for a lot of the plugins, right? They have kind of a freemium model. We'll talk about that in a minute, but yeah, those are some of the cons. So when you first Google WordPress, there will pop up two different websites. There's WordPress.com and WordPress.org, and I'm going to explain the difference to you. WordPress.com is a site where you can, if you really basically you want to have a WordPress site, you want to open one up, WordPress.com, they actually host the site for you. So they are your hosting account. You pay for it on a monthly basis. Here's some of their rates. Personal site, $7 a month, $14 for a premium site if you're like a freelancer. Business sites can run $33, and if you want a full e-commerce site, it's $59 a month. Okay. Now, they have tons of features that are with them. Of course, the features increase for everyone that's there. There's a lot of features here, but the amount of storage space that you get, and I mean, it's for real basic sites. If you're planning on having one for business, I would not recommend going to WordPress.com for it. I'd recommend getting a hosting account your own that you have control of, and you have full access to.
Mike, what are the other examples for hosting accounts?
Hosting accounts, if you Google hosting online, you'll throw a rock. There's literally thousands of hosting accounts. HostGator is one. Most of the domain registration companies also offer hosting. GoDaddy offers hosting. Google offers hosting. Bluehost is one of the large ones that are out there. And it's almost like buying gas when you buy hosting, unless you're super concerned I mean, maybe 5% of the population says, I have to buy Chevron gasoline or I have to buy Texaco gasoline. If you're not one of those people, it doesn't really matter who you host with, right? You can host with anybody. They all offer just about the same type of services. Hosting generally runs about $150 a year to host your website for your business. And yeah, so they all work about the same way. Now, WordPress.org is the open source platform. It's like I said, WordPress is free and it's open source, so it's constantly being updated by the programmers. And so you can go on here, you can click Get WordPress right here. Boom, you go to a download page, you download it, and then you install it into your hosting account. Okay. So that's the basics. So a lot of people get confused. They'll go to WordPress.com and they'll sign up and they'll do all that stuff thinking that that's the only way to do it. It's not. So WordPress, in order to make a little bit more money for it, they offer hosting. And but like I said, I don't recommend to use that. I would recommend to get your own hosting account. You can download the latest version of WordPress, and you can install it yourself onto your web hosting account. Or if I was just in HostGator the other day, and also Bluehost, I have one called Hostinger. They all have one-click installations with WordPress. So WordPress is so popular that so many people demand it, and they have problems installing it, that they put these installers that'll do it for you. Okay. So let's talk about themes. Now, there's thousands of themes available online. Some are free. Most have an additional cost to them. And there's literally, these are templates for just about any type of business that you have. And so what happens is, after you install the WordPress platform onto your hosting account, you then go in and you install a theme on top of that, or inside of your WordPress account. And then you customize the theme from there. But you have to, that's the process. You have a hosting account, you have a domain name that you tie into that through your host, and then you install WordPress onto the platform, onto your hosting account, so it goes to that website. So when you type in your domain name, you pop up the WordPress interface, and then you install a theme inside of that WordPress platform. So one of the big places that you can go and buy themes, or go to look if you're kind of in the process of saying, hey, I wonder what's out there. There's a website called Theme Forest. Or if you just Google WordPress themes, Theme Forest has 52,000 of them for sale, starting at $2 a theme. Okay. $2 theme is probably not a great theme. You may as well use a free one at that point, but here's a sample of, it just has tons and tons of WordPress themes. Here's one that's for a real estate company. It's a real estate and property theme. It already includes images. It includes all sorts of stuff you would need as a real estate agent. So typically a theme comes not just with one page or one look, but there's multiple pages in that theme. It'll have a home page, it'll have a contact page, it'll have a map page, it'll have a maybe a gallery page. In this, it should have a few more things that are there. Average cost to a theme is usually under $100. I've seen themes that run up to a few thousand, depending on their functionality, right? I've seen themes for law firms that run really expensive because they tie into legal libraries and they do all sorts of different things, right? So your theme can be, if you're setting up an online magazine, there's themes for that, okay? If you want to set up a membership site, there's themes for that too. If you want to set up a video company, like if you want to make your own YouTube, there's actually themes for that. Okay. So there's themes for just about everything. So go and take a look at the themes and find one that you like. You're going to pay for it. It'll be about $100 for the theme.
Mike, this is why we use themes, because you don't need to do any coding. You don't need to worry about that particular side of the technology.
Exactly.
You just choose whatever fits better with your personality of your business and the resources that you want in your business.
Exactly. The theme should help you to deliver your website completed a lot quicker. Okay, if you find a theme you don't have to really customize as much, then that's terrific. So yeah, but I just expect to pay for the theme. That's what I want to make sure that we have down. All right, let's talk about plugins. So the WordPress uses plugin architecture, and what that allows the user to do is extend the features and functionality of the website or the blog. Okay, so a plugin, now you have your, let's think about this. It's like we're building a house. Okay, the base is you have your domain name, you have your hosting account, okay, and then you have WordPress installed. So you have this platform that's installed on your hosting account. You have a theme that's installed inside of your WordPress site, and plugins function inside of your WordPress site and on top of your theme. Okay, so it's like you're making a multi-layered cake, and it just keeps getting better and better with your functionality that you have. I just recently purchased a plugin for a map feature for a client. Okay, so we were trying to showcase some of the clients' work that they've done on a map. And so you could click on the map and pull up an area of town or a project that they had worked on. So anyway, we bought a plugin and it cost about $60 for this plugin. And what it did is it just made the map look a lot better than the standard map function that's in there. Yeah, so it more optimally displayed kind of Google's map settings. So there's plugins for absolutely everything. So there's more than 55,000 that are available just at this moment. I think it's safe to say you'll find something that you like. There's so many that you'll have a hard time sifting through them to figure out which one that you need. Now there's quite a few ones that are popular. One's Contact Form 7. There's Yoast SEO, which helps improve your SEO content. Like I said, it's pretty good. And you can see that these have more than 5 million active installations that people have gotten these. These typically have a cost to them. They'll do certain functionality for free. One thing that I use quite frequently on websites is, when you open up a website and there'll be an image and it'll slide through like a gallery. So I have one image that'll slide out and another one will slide in. There's a slider plugin that I use quite often, and that costs about $30 per website that you have on it. And so in order to make that function properly, you got that, right? But there's plugins for example, if you have a beauty shop, if you do hair, you do nails, you do massages, there's plugins for appointment making, right? So you put that on your site and it does your appointment scheduling or calendaring. You can put your calendar up, you can put your stuff, and that's a functionality that's built right into a plugin. You'll probably pay $40, $50 for this plugin. So you've got these plugins on top of your site. So like I said, most are freemium, have free versions, limited functionality. You have to pay to unlock all the features. Now, keep in mind that most of these are created by third-party developers. Okay, so any of us could create a plugin for WordPress and put it for sale. Okay, that's what's kind of cool. It's kind of like it's the ultimate democratic web platform, right? Is WordPress, because many developers developing for that. So the tricky part is, like I said, they may not get updated as frequently as WordPress does, or they may just be compatible with the current version of WordPress. So what typically happens is WordPress releases a new version, and when you upgrade to the new version of WordPress, suddenly your plugins may get knocked out, but the plugin makers don't know when WordPress is going to update. And so when they update, they're scrambling to fix whatever they need to make it functional. Okay, so keep that in mind, because certain things can knock your site down. So if you're using a scheduling plugin and you're getting 90% of your scheduling from this plugin, and you update WordPress and suddenly it knocks it out, you may not want to update the version of WordPress you're using until they have a plugin that's out there. And so this takes a little bit of homework. It's a little bit of the tech side of things, and this is why I do recommend that you guys use a web developer or a designer to help you in this process, because it can get kind of dicey with things. So like I said, it's a pro and a con to have so many different plugins made by so many different people. It's great to have the variety, but at the same time, it's an open architecture, so you can have these type of update issues. All right, frameworks. We're going to talk about a couple of design frameworks. Frameworks are design overlays that make WordPress easier to use and pages easier to design, okay? WordPress still feels a little clunky when you get in there, even when you buy a theme, okay? So sometimes it's a little tricky to work in it. Like I said, there's kind of a learning curve to where everything is and how it works. And it can get frustrating in the design process if you as the business owner are designing your own website. It can get a little frustrating because WordPress isn't the most intuitive interface. It was created by tech guys that didn't want to code so much, right? Yeah, but they're not necessarily designers. They were tech people that wanted it technically to work very well, which it does. So it's not lauded for its interface or anything like that. So some of these frameworks function as themes, and other of these frameworks function as plugins on the platform. Okay, so if you're thinking about it, remember we're building this multi-layered cake. We've got our hosting account, we've got WordPress installed on the host, we've got our theme installed there as well. We've got our plugins that are installed there, and then we'll have some design overlays that make the whole thing work a little bit more efficiently. And I'm going to show two of those to you today. The first one's called Divi. And I'm going to show you two different design frameworks. Divi is one of them. It's a very popular framework. And what's great about Divi is they actually have their own themes. So they have their entire, there's hundreds of themes that they have here on their stuff. And so you have to pay for these frameworks. And it costs $89 per year per site to have yearly access to it, or you can pay a one-time fee of $249 for lifetime access, which I would recommend if you like the Divi product. You can download it and try it out and see how it works. But yeah, you'll pay $89 a year for it. And the process is you download Divi, and then you install it onto your WordPress platform as either I believe Divi is installed as a theme. And that's how it works. The next one's called Elementor. Okay, and this kind of shows a little bit of what it does. And what these frameworks do is they have pre-done kind of pages for you. You don't just get, like I said, when you buy a theme, you don't just get the home page. You get the home page, a contact page, an email us page, a services page. It usually gets 5 or 6 pages that are all pre-designed. They all look the same, has the same look and feel, but they're all fully customizable and fully functional. And they'll do kind of some neat things like they'll fade the photos in, or they'll move a little bit. And the design is really pretty sharp, pretty tight for what they're doing. So Elementor is the other one that I would recommend. And I use both Divi and Elementor. They're both good options to use. Just depends on which one you guys like the best. Elementor costs $49 per year per site. You can have 3 websites if you have a business where you have several different websites. 3 websites for $99 a year, and it goes up. A lot of web developers use Elementor, and you can do over 100 websites for $500 a year. And so it comes with over 300 basic and pro templates that are in there, and they're constantly updating things and keeping it supported. What's great is instead of learning just the WordPress platform, what you can do is if you download Divi or Elementor, and Elementor is installed as a plugin actually on the site, which is interesting. So it's a design plugin. And what you can do is once you get this up, if you have questions, there's so many people that use Elementor and Divi to build WordPress sites. If you go to YouTube, there's just hundreds of videos on each one to help you do almost anything. If you get stuck, you know, when I first started using Elementor and WordPress or in Divi, I would go and watch a couple videos and I go, oh, okay, that's how you do this. That's how you do this. And I would rather, if you're a small business owner and you're spending time to build your own website, I would rather you spend your time learning how Elementor and how Divi work instead of learning the whole WordPress process, just because that's going to be in the background and this will make your site look and feel and do what you want it to. All right, let's talk about interface. So how do you get onto your WordPress site? I've had clients that'll call me, and when I first started designing WordPress, I was kind of like, how do you access the dashboard? WordPress has a dashboard. How
That's
do you
a
get
very
on there?
good question.
Right? So what you do is you type in www.yourdomainname.com/wp-admin. Okay, so if you've installed WordPress properly, what will happen is this will pop up on your window, and you're required to put in your username and your password. And you're like, wow, I don't know my password. Well, guess where you set up your password? In your hosting account. Okay, so your host controls WordPress. That's, like I said, remember the multi-level cake that we're building? That bottom level, that foundation, is your hosting account. So you can go into your hosting account, put your new password or reset your password or whatever you need to do, and then be able to get back in your WordPress platform. But that's how you do it. So you type WP, your domain name /WP-admin. That's exactly what you type in, and that will bring up this. And then when you log in, you'll see your dashboard. And this is the exciting WordPress dashboard. Doesn't it look exciting? This is why I say designers did not build this, developers did, because they look at it and go, wow, isn't this amazing? And as a designer, I look at this and go, wow, isn't this boring, right? But it's functional. As you see up here, this is the name of the website that I have, and I'm going to demo this for you guys in a second. It's exportnevada.com. This is your home button. If you want to view your site, and when you're in your dashboard, when you see your designs for your site, what happens is it'll keep that bar at the top, so you can always go back to that, and it'll show you that you're live in WordPress at the time. Okay, and it has different types of plugins that are installed up here, and it'll show you your. This is just my login name, right? So anyway, have home. It'll tell you if there's WordPress updates that need to be done. So I have one update that was there available. It'll give you some messages up here that say, hey, anything from, hey, WordPress needs an update, so there's a little issue here or whatever. And so you can kind of manage your own site this way. Insights are some analytics that are there. And then, like I said, WordPress was set up as a blogging platform. So here is where you do your posting. Okay, so if you want to create a blog post, this is where you do it. Media is where you store all your photos, your videos, your songs, the music, whatever, they're all in there. Pages is an important one. This is where you set up your individual pages for your website, right? Comments are where you moderate comments that are left on your website, and you can approve or disapprove them. This is a plugin called Opt-in Monster that apparently my host owns this plugin and automatically install it when they install WordPress. So I haven't ever used that. And WP Forms is a plugin for using forms that I have installed. This is one that you're going to use quite often. It's called Appearance. And this is where you click on and you can change your themes. You can customize what you're doing, and I'll show you that. And then we have our plugins right below this. Obviously, I have one that's showing that it needs attention, so it needs an update or something of that nature. Users, you can opt or give power to other users to use your, you can delegate so other people can log in. So if you hire a web designer, you start to design your site and then you hire a web designer, you can select them as a user and send them their login information to your site. So you can control that and lock that down. And there's also some web tools that are down there as well. So now we're going to do a live demo. So I'm accessing my website I have set up, which is exportnevada.com/WP-admin is what I'm typing in here. And you pull up this. When it comes up, So I've got my email in here saved already. And now I am actually in WordPress live. Okay, so this will tell you your username that's up here. This will tell you the website that you have. Like I said, these are things that are installed and kind of running. It'll tell you your updates here. So if I click on updates, it says, hey, you have the latest version of WordPress. There's some plugins that need some updating. There's some themes that need some updating. So like I said, sometimes we walk very softly with updates. Um, I don't recommend to update instantly when they come out. You have to make sure that you've got compatibility with all of your plugins and everything. And it's especially when WordPress makes a new update. You'll see your plugins will say, hey, we've now included, it now works in the newest version of WordPress. Okay, great. Then you can update. All right. So like I said, posts are where you can make a post. Right now, I don't have any blog posts. I have one that says hello world, right? If you want to make a new blog post, you just click add new here, and boom, it pops up and says, what do you want to add to it? And you can type in, and we can call this Happy Friday, right? And you can start writing. This is the typical editor. You can put like a paragraph in here, and so I can just type lorem ipsum, right? And I hit preview, and I can see, or just publish if I want to publish it. My post was published. If you want to view the post, you can click down there, and it's live on the web right now. So, okay. So I want to go back to WordPress. So if you want to see your site live, you literally click on this and it takes you to your site. So this is kind of the site page. I don't have anything set up on here, but we're going to go back to the dashboard. So you always click here to go back to your dashboard. So media, like I said, is where you can upload things that you're going to use. And I've uploaded some images in this right now. You simply click add new, and you can drag or drop files into here, or you can click this and select files that you want to upload. So if I want to upload, if I find something, let me find a picture. Let's do this. So if I want to upload this picture, it uploads down here, and then you have access to it.
And you have to upload everything before you can use it on your website.
Yes, has to be uploaded, and it does take some time, and you need to optimize your photos, size them properly. Like if you upload a 10 megabyte file, it will keep it at 10 megabytes. So you have to make sure to upload. So see how this popped in. And what you can do is if you click on the photo, you can go in and typically one of the things we do as web designers is we'll go into a photo, and we don't want to ever keep the name of the photo, right? So if you take a photo in your digital camera, it'll say DSC with a big giant number behind it .jpeg, right? You don't want to keep that. Typically, I would say, oh, this is the man in tunnel with sun. I call it that. And then on this alternate text is for accessibility reasons. So if you hover over a photo on your website and somebody is blind, for instance, if you have alternate text set up, what happens is if you roll over that photo, it will actually speak that to the person through their computer interface, right? But what it does is it gives additional information to Google to help you get found, okay? So you should name your photos something with the name of your business, and just don't leave them at the actual name. That's a great search engine optimization tip for you, is name your photos. That can help just immensely. If the name of your business is Export Nevada, it can be Export Nevada Man and Tunnel. And so if you actually Googled that, if I name the photo that, we could find it, so it's kind of interesting. You can also put right here the title, man stands inside of dark tunnel. This is a stock photo, so they've already done this. Man stands inside of old dark tunnel with the shining sun in the end. That's the caption, like below the photo that's typically there. And a description and all the stuff you need for the photo. It also tells the dimensions and the file size. And I can do stuff to it too, like I can edit the image inside of here, which I don't recommend doing your photo editing inside of WordPress because it's clunky. You can rotate it, you can flip it, and you can crop it. That cropping is probably the most, like I can crop this down like that. And then I hit crop again and it zooms it up and then I hit save. So it's going to save my photo now in that format. Okay. That's about the extent of what you can do with photos in WordPress. Okay. So you want to use a photo editor like Photoshop or any one of your photo editors to prep your images before. But that's your image library. You can also set up different folders inside your library so that you can organize things to make sure that they're good. Yeah, so that's the library. So pages now. Pages is important because pages is where you create your actual pages. And so you click add new to add a new page. And a lot of times you have to save these at the bottom of, make sure to save. It doesn't automatically save. It'll warn you if you haven't hit the save button. Quite often on certain pages, you have to hit save to make sure that it's there. So that's pages. Here's comments. Comments, like this says, this is an example. Hi, this is a comment to get started with moderating, editing, deleting posts. You know, this kind of shows you what a comment is. Now, this is the main part here is appearance. Okay, so appearance, we have themes, customize, widgets, menus, background, and the theme editor. So currently, when you install WordPress, it defaults to the current theme of the year, which is called the name of the year. So this year's theme is 2021. Here it is. So if you want to customize the theme, you can get in here and customize it. But like I said, you can change things up. So right now our website looks like this. Okay, so we visit the site. It's kind of what it looks like, kind of boring. We go back to themes in here, appearance, themes. Let's change the theme up to this one. I've already downloaded one, or if you click here, you can look it up. And so this is where you can either add a theme if WordPress already has them there available. They have several free ones. So if I click add theme, there's a few that'll pop up that you look. And you want to look at how the interface looks. So if you go, oh, this is kind of an interesting theme, let me preview. You can preview it or just install it. So if I hit install, it'll actually download and install the theme for me instantly there to WordPress. Well, as instantly as it takes to download it. So it's still working on it. Once your theme is downloaded, you have to just install it. Okay. So while that's doing that, I'm just going to show you a couple more things here. So there's not a ton of themes. If you look at it, WordPress has a few. Okay, so it downloaded. Now I'm going to hit activate. And the moment you hit activate, it literally activates the theme. It puts it first in the list. And now if I go up here to the site, let's take a look at what it looks like. Oh, it changed a lot, right? So there's kind of a sample page here that it has. Now you can customize it, but as you can see, it's going to put my navigation at the top as I add my pages. I have phone numbers and things, and you can go in and check that out. Okay. So here's a theme right here I'm going to activate. So you can change your themes up. Every time you change your themes though, stuff disappears. It moves to different places because one theme may not have a space for the photo you have in another theme. So figure you're going to have to rebuild your site every time you change a theme. Okay. So now I've installed this theme here. Let's go to visit the site. This looks way
much nicer.
Much nicer, right? It's got some stuff up here and great. And I'm like, hey, okay, look, I had my logo, I had defaulted in my stuff and it's there now. And I'm like, not bad. Now let's see what we can customize on here. You can do some customization, right? So up here, like it's got the date and the time, and I start looking at theme options, and I go to you can change a lot of stuff. It's almost too much, right? So when you first get in here, there's a lot of buttons you can click on, and a lot of stuff does things. So if you look up here, it says hide or show the date. You can literally turn that off. you want to. Or I want to turn the time off, okay? Or if I want to hide or show my social icons, I can do that too. So I can turn them on, turn them off. So there's all this different stuff that you can do. And then you hit publish and that sticks, okay? So what we can
these
also
options are gonna depend on your theme as
on
well,
your
right?
theme.
Because
Absolutely.
some themes are not gonna have the date and the time.
Yep.
So you can turn that on and off. Okay.
So you want to look at your various different themes and find one that really works for what you're doing. Now like here, colors. Like the background color is this gray. I can click here and I can customize it and I can make it, you know, whatever you want it, you can make it, you know. If you hit publish, it changes it up. Whoops, it didn't change for some reason. Let's see. See, here's another instance of it. Your theme might override something. Something might be overriding something else. You can also change your homepage settings, right? So my homepage right now says sample page. It defaults usually to your blog page, but you can designate whatever page you want to be your homepage. Okay, and this is very helpful when, especially if we're redesigning a few pages on a site. What we'll do is we'll go into the pages section, we'll create new pages, and I'll call it like home 2 or something like that. And then I'll create this page that only we can see through the interface. It's on the web, but it's not able to be clicked on to get there. So we'll know the URL for it. We can go in and we can keep it from being searched via Google as well. And so we'll go on and make our homepage adjustments. And when the time comes, we'll change the homepage from home to home 2, you know? And so it really enables you to do better design as far as that goes. You can change your background image in here if you want to put one. This enables certain menu things to happen. There's widgets, which are these little things in the sidebar area that you can do. So there's a lot that you can do in this stuff. And so, oh, there it is. It turned red, right? So this is an actual page. So it didn't show me. It had to wait until we made the change. So that's themes here. So you can do a lot, like I said, with themes. But what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna activate Divi. I have Divi installed as a theme on this site. And you saw what we were kind of able to do and move around, and it's really based on the theme. I'm gonna activate Divi and show you what Divi's functionality is for your website. So Divi is now active. If I go to Divi's site, it doesn't look like much right now, but let's go into pages and create a page. So let's go pages, and I'm gonna I got a home page with Divi. I'm gonna hit edit with Divi. I have a Divi layout that's here. If I want to change this, I can go here. Okay, so load from library. So this is kind of interesting with, like I said, with Divi, when you purchase Divi, you get different themes inside of Divi that you can work with. So if you want to find a layout, there's all sorts of different layouts that it has for a website. How about business consultant? Okay, so I click on business consultant. Layouts inside of this pack, right? There's an about page, there's a blog page, there's a case study, there's a contact, services, pricing, landing, and a home page.
So basically, this is going to give you like a shortcut where you don't have to create the other pages, the contact page, the landing page, the pricing page. This is more like a whole package combo that you can get through Divi. Okay.
Now, the good part about this is, like I said before, and we had the question, I think yesterday when we taught this in Spanish, we had the question, can you use 2 different themes on your website? And the answer is no, you have to have one theme, right? However, if you're using Divi, I can put a home page with this layout, and I can have an about page with another layout inside of Divi. I'm gonna hit home, And you can kind of preview it and go, okay, this looks kind of cool. Let's take a look at this. And I'm going to click use layout. And now we're opening up the site's this page in Divi, and it's installing it right on the platform. So this is Divi's editor. As you can see, when I roll on to stuff, Divi has sections that it makes. So this is a whole section. You can duplicate the section, you can delete it, and then it has these different areas on here where if you click, you can add things. It's got this little thing for free consultation. If I want to add an extra photo to something, it's all based on kind of a column structure. Okay, so for instance, this thing here, I've got this center column. You can move things around for where you want them to be. Okay, and you can customize them. And for instance, here you can add a new section. I can add it from the library. If I have, you can make pages in here, and if you like the layout of the page, you can put it in your library, and you can reuse it often. So there's kind of neat stuff that you can do. So in this section, I want to insert a photo. And so when you hit the gray plus here, you can come down. I can put an audio file in. I can put a blog entry in. I can put a button here. I can put a little call to action, a little blurb. You can put a code in if you have a HTML code you want to drop in, which sometimes you do have. If I want to put a PayPal button in, for instance, I go to PayPal, I get my PayPal code for my button and just drop it right in there. You can have an email opt-in, a gallery, an image, all sorts of stuff. I'm just going to put an image in here just for time. And so here's the image. And this is the interface that we have for the image. I literally click the image, and then if I say, hey, I'm going to put, so here we go. So I've got the image in there. I can turn this into a link if I want to link it out to something or whatever. So there's the image. And like I said, you can move this around in different places depending on where you want to put it. But like I moved it over there. If I want to move it outside, there it is. So you have these different sections of different things. So for instance, in here on this piece, if I want to change this up and put, so this looks like financial consulting. We are the best at helping you grow your portfolio.
Mike, do you pay extra when you start playing with different layouts, or just one price?
All one price.
Okay,
yep, it's all included.
So I can build a layout, play with it, and if I don't like it, throw it, and no extra cost.
Exactly. So that's the benefit of using something like this. If you like the page, you hit save, and now this saved as my home page, right? So like I said, further going down through this, I want to go in here to themes, customize. I want to make sure I've got the right home page up here. So home page settings, we're going to call home our home page. I'm going to hit publish. So there it is. And once it's published, we want to look at it, and the changes we just made are actually live. So this is live at exportnevada.com. Okay. So do you see the little functionality where you zoom in? When you move it, there's slight movement that'll happen. See that? Little touches like that really make your website stand out, and that's what you get when you get Divi or different things that are there. So that's Divi. Okay. Any questions on Divi with that? But Divi has so many, like let's just do a new page. I'm going to click add new, and we're going to call this a contact page, right? And I'm going to click use Divi builder. So Divi is going to pull up and ask me, do I want to build it from scratch? Do I want to do a pre-made layout or clone an existing page? So once you get a page that you like, you can do that. But I'm going to hit browse layouts again, and this will pull up our different layouts. And let's say I like that one layout for the home page, but let me click services here. And let's find something down here. Maybe I want to see a cool contact form. So Look, here's a handyman layout, right? So there's all sorts of different things. So let's look at contact. Here's what the contact page looks like in here. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. Map below on the contact page. I'm going to use this layout for my contact page. Doesn't matter that it says handyman on it, you can customize the whole thing. So you want to find one that you like how it looks and feels, but you can change the colors, you can change, you're definitely going to change the content, you're going to change all these different things. So as WordPress installs it, or as Divi installs it on your WordPress platform, here's your contact page now, right?
So now you're using two different layouts inside Divi, one for your home and one for your contact.
Exactly. Okay. Now notice how the typography changes, and maybe you don't want that or whatever, but it's customizable. So if I click here, you look at the background, you have images, you can add gradients, you can add all sorts of stuff on here. So basically how it works is when you click on something, you can edit all the text right here. So if you want to just say, contact us today. Okay, that's as easy as it gets. You can add an additional, right now, you can add a new row in, and you can put like multiple divisions into the rows. So you can really control your layouts as far as that stuff goes. Okay, and then in this section, try and get to this photo. So here's the photo right here. If I go, I don't really like this photo. Let me throw that away. Let me add a new image. And so this is a handyman picture. Let me just put this one in there. This might look good. Person with some Nikes, contact us today. Yeah, I don't like that picture. Let me put this one in. Some mountain scenes, right? So that's pretty much it. So if I say fit, or if I say, you can say actual size on your photo. You can position it if you want it in the center, top left. If your photo doesn't fit exactly, this is why you got to fit your photos center right. That looks a little bit better. Boom, we'll keep that. Here we go. Okay, so this ties in if you like it. And then, like I said, the map, Google actually charges you to put Google Maps in, by the way. I don't know if anybody knows that, but if you want to put Google Maps in your site, Google charges you to get an API key to install in here. That's why Google's saying, this didn't really display properly. Do you own this website? If you do, and you want to use Google, they'll charge you a little bit to use it. Okay. And it's not too much, but it's what they do. So if you like it, you hit publish. So now we called that page contact. And if I go here to our website and I click up here, it'll take me to the site. And now we have a menu up here. We have our home page. If I click contact, that's our new page that we just developed. So it can really help you to get going quickly. And like I said, with themes, if you're just using a theme in WordPress without using one of these design platforms, without using Elementor or Divi, you can only use one theme per site, okay? With Divi, you can have multiple themes, multiple looks on multiple pages from their stuff. Now, they have about 300 templates that are in there. You will find something that works for your site, I guarantee. Okay?
If you like options, you definitely have options.
Yes. Now I'm going to go to another website that I've got Elementor installed on. So 2468media.com/WP-admin, right? So it gets us to this page once again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've got my stuff saved in here. So let me log in. And hey, we get to our very exciting dashboard in WordPress, right? So you'll see this all the time when you're working. Okay, so it shows me my login information up here, and it shows me the name of the site up here that I'm working on. Now, as a web designer, I could have 10 websites I'm working on at any given time. It's a little confusing, right? And they all have different hosting companies, and some have different ways to access things through, because I usually, as you're designing your site, you do have to interact with your host a bit, right? So I've got logins. So for my clients, I have logins for hosting companies, and I have logins sometimes for the domain companies as well, because those may be different. And I have their WordPress logins, and then I have to have certain logins if they have plugins, or like for instance, if you have a membership site or you use a mailing program like MailChimp or one of those type of things, I have to have access to those sites as well, so that I can pull the API keys, which an API key just allows you to link your website directly to like MailChimp, for instance. So if I want to capture emails, I can use Constant Contact, I can use MailChimp, I can use ConvertKit, I can use any number of them that are out there, and they have an API key that you actually put into WordPress, and then it pops up when it's there. Okay, just like that Google map, Google wants an API key saying that I've been authorized to use their site. And so that's what happens. So here I am in this 2468 media site, and I've got Elementor installed on this one. Okay, so and I'm going to go to my pages here, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. Here's my home page. I'm going to hit edit in Elementor. So Elementor loads in just like Divi does, but it's a different interface. And I have a movie that's playing automatically here, which I'm just going to pause, but I want to show you a couple things that are real, simple to do. So here I've got an image. I've got these things that are in here. Now there's Elementor and there's Elementor Pro. And so that's an upgrade for Pro accounts, but this one already has built in a slider, okay, that you can insert. It has navigation menus. It has even logins for protected pages. It has galleries, portfolio, pricing table. And like we saw on that last one where there was a pricing table, it has these built in. Call to action, flip boxes, a testimonial. It's got all this stuff kind of at your disposal to use. You want to embed your Facebook page. You want to put a PayPal button in. You want to add a video. I mean, it's got it all right here. And it's drag and drop like PowerPoint, which is really—
There are some similarities with Vivid, right?
Yes. So for instance, if you want to do a gallery, if I want to pull this into here and I just drag and drop this gallery icon, just say what images you want to do, and I go click. All right, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. How about that? Create a new gallery, insert the gallery. There it is automatically. Now you got a little bit of massaging to do to make sure it looks okay. How many columns do you want? I only want, I want 3 columns. There we go. And you work with it and massage it. It's an art and a science. Okay. So you get your stuff in there and you make sure it looks good and you put it in where it goes. You can style them. You can add spacing, borders. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. I can put motion effects on here. I can put a background in here. You can do, it's so much more than you're ever going to need, but it's there if you really need it, right? So,
and right now you have different access to different images because you are working on another library from another domain.
Yes. Yeah. I have in, if I want to get back to, so in here, if I hit update, I can update my site, and then I can hit preview right here. Elementor seems to work a little quicker than Divi sometimes, right? But they function differently. I use both of them in doing web design for other people and also myself. There's just a lot of options that you have for doing this. So, and as you said, Juan, if I go back to the dashboard and I go to media here, I have a media library I had already set up where it puts all your assets in. It also puts the assets from the template in there so that you can replace them, right? But there's additional assets that are in here. And if you want to upload new things, you can upload new stuff. And like I said, you can edit your photos that are in there. So Elementor, if I wanted to add a new page, if I go to pages and I go add new, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to call this services or something. Services offered. Okay, and I hit edit with Elementor. We'll go in and we have kind of the template that's here, but we have an area where we can add things into. You can click and select your structure. So if I want to have 3 columns in here, there it is. And let's say I want to put, I go back to here if I want to put images in these 3 columns. So I just drag an image up, right? Let me drag another image up over here. Or you can just hit plus and I can add an image like that. Okay, so if I want to add something there, I just hit the edit button and I can click an image and it takes me to my library if I want to put that there. Same process here. Choose an image. I want to do that image. Boom. This one too. Do that image. And then you can edit these things. Okay, so you can change and make sure if I want to get them so that they're all like similar sizes, because it's all relative when it comes down to it, you know. So like I said, art and a science, man. So you got to kind of figure it out. And there we go, our little section. I called this services offered, right? And if I hit publish, if I want to view the page, there it is. That's that quick. Okay.
So it looks like Elementor might have some more options for editing, and Divi has more pre-done templates, right?
Yes. And yeah, like I said, they both have their advantages, but I mean, I like working with both of them. I use them both. You know, for depends what the client needs and what the client wants. Elementor, and like I said, there's a lot of training in Elementor. You have like settings in here. I mean, there's style settings. You can set the content of your site. You can do really a lot in this, and this Go Pro with Elementor. So like I said, the pro ones, you know, cost a little bit extra, but it's like for 3 pro websites or 1 pro website. I don't have the pro version installed on this. I just have the regular version. But so it's $49 a year is not bad for being able to have that functionality with what you're doing. Elementor is a great medium to use for and stuff is very simple, like this video here. If I wanted to change something out here and I wanted to go to YouTube and find something, I could go in here. I could find, here's one of our videos we did recently. So what's an EIN number? So I like that video. Let's pause that. I go back here and all I have to do is paste it in here. And there it is.
Cool.
Right? I hit update and preview and it's already on the web. It's that quick, which is really nice. Which after seeing the normal WordPress interface, when you see these, you go, oh my gosh, like I think I need to have these. So highly recommend.
Elementor is a plugin. It's not
Elementor is a plugin, and you simply you add Elementor here. Like, let me go to the dashboard. So if I go to plugins here, installed plugins, it'll show me Elementor right here. Okay, so it tells me there's a new version available, a drag and drop editor. You simply go to Elementor's site, you buy it, and then they'll give you kind of an activation code for it. Same with Divi. When I install Divi, I go in someplace and Divi says, okay, you installed it. Now give me your API key. They want to know your API key. Same process. So API key is simply just the access that allows you to use it. It's almost like your serial number on software, right? It's the same type of situation because they're licensing it to you.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so let's go back. The purpose of today's class was to give you a basic primer on WordPress. And there's still, even with Elementor and Divi, there's still a steep learning curve on using it and getting it to be used well. But after this class, you should be able to, if you're going to do this yourself, have a an idea of the process. And I'm going to spell that out in the action plan right now. What you need to do to build the site yourself, or to engage a designer in helping you to design your site so that you understand the process.
And on a previous class, we talked about using a web version to develop your website, right?
Yeah. We had another class where we talked about building your website in a day, and we used building browser websites.
Right. We use those builders like Wix,
Weebly, Shopify is another one.
Right.
Google
So we have that class that you can create your own website in a day using those web builders. And then we didn't use WordPress at that class because we wanted to make a solid class in WordPress because it's more complicated. So if you want to build your website in a simple way, you can go to that class, the 1 day website. And if you want something more complicated,
if you're listening to this today and you're like, man, I can't do this. Go back and go to our other class. You can build a website in a day very simply for under like $500. Okay, so this is very, very cheap to do this. And even hiring a designer to do something on Weebly or Wix or Google Sites will cost you less than $500 to hire a designer to do that for you. They'll knock that out real quick, right? So here's your action plan if you want to use WordPress, okay? So first of all, you've got to purchase your domain name, okay? More or less $15 a year, about average cost for that. Then you have to purchase a hosting account, okay? $150 a year is what they average. You can find them cheaper. There's some more expensive too. That's about what they run, okay? Then you have to install WordPress on your hosting account. These three things have to happen in that order, okay? And you have to tie it all in together. Once WordPress is installed, you're going to purchase a theme that you have and install it on WordPress. And like I said, themes can run, I just put $75 there because on an average, you can get a theme for under $100. It's a decent thing, okay? Then you're going to purchase some additional plugins you need, which I'd say you purchase 2, it's going to cost you about $100. And then at that point, you can purchase and install either Divi or Elementor, and it'll run you between $50 to $89 a year for your site to have access to that. And then you can start designing at that point, right? So if you're going to design your own site, it's going to cost about $500 in WordPress to start, okay? Now, if you hire a designer, will not do a WordPress site for less than $1,000 typically. Okay, so figure $1,000 to $3,000 for a designer to do something. Okay, so your cost is really going to be about $500 on the low end if you're going to be doing the design yourself. Figure about $3,000 if you're going to be paying a designer or developer to do this yourself, for you. So. And then once you're up and running, you have to keep this thing updated and current. You have to keep WordPress updated. You have to keep your themes updated. You have to keep your plugins updated, okay? Elementor and Divi do updates as well on their stuff, but they're, like I said, part of those are in themes and part are in plugins as well. So,
plus the learning curve.
Plus there's a learning curve, yeah. So
I will say, Mike, that it is very important for you to spend quite time choosing the theme, because once you change it, like if you change it, it doesn't keep the content, right? You have to start all over.
If you change your theme, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So make sure that if you're going to do this yourself, you're going to spend quite time choosing the right theme that you want to, because if you don't, and then you put all your content on it, and then you say, oh, you know what, this doesn't look right, I want another one.
I need a new theme.
You have to start all over again.
You really do. So part of the process when you design a website, we call it wireframing. Take one piece of paper, get a bunch of white paper, draw out your sites. I have a home page. What can I click on the home page, and what other pages does that go to? And just draw it out on paper, right? If you get the bones of the architecture And I've done this with some clients of mine that'll go, yeah, I just need like 5-page site. And then we get into it and it's like, it's 35 pages, right? Oh yeah, forgot. Oh, and I want to do it in Spanish here too. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
You need a plugin for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a client one time, he had about a 100-page website. We got it finished. And he said, how hard is it to make it in Spanish now? And I said, well, it costs double probably because we have to recreate all the pages in Spanish. And he's like, wow, it's double for that? I said, yeah, because you have to make another whole page. But if we would have known we were doing it in 2 languages to start out with, there's some shortcuts you can take, right? So you want to make sure, just like building a building, you want to make sure that you got an architect before you start hammering nails, right? Before you start pouring cement randomly, make sure you got a plan and you know what's going to happen. So if you can take page by page, and this helps your web developer too, you can go to your web developer and say, I need a 12-page website. Here's my pages. Here's my content per page. And you can give them a Word doc if you want to, and just say, my homepage, I want to have these photos, this, and then you give them a thumb drive. Like no client ever does this, but if you give them a thumb drive that says homepage per page, you got a folder per page. Here's all the photos and here's the text per page that I like in there. Your site will be done in like a day. Great. But a lot of times we have to massage and ask a lot of questions of the client. Hey, you're missing something here. What should go here? Or you've got a hole here, or where does this link to? I'm not sure what's going here or that. What you don't want to do with your designer is say, well, just kind of figure something out, I guess. I don't know. Or, I don't like that, or whatever. Have some idea. If you've already looked through templates, if you go and you say, hey, I found a perfect template. I want you to use this template and I want this type of content on the template. You're going to have a great experience using a web designer. Now, web designers are notoriously flaky. Okay. I'll say that too. So if you spell everything out and you get an actual date on what happens, there it goes, right? In defense of web designers, sometimes clients don't know what they want, okay? So if you suddenly go, oh, I don't have any photos, Mike. Can you go find a bunch of photos for me? Yeah, let me go find a bunch of photos for you. It's going to just delay everything. Or if you decide you're making changes, at some point it's like, well, that changes the scope of work, right? And so quite often clients don't understand that if you make a bunch of changes during the project or right in the middle, it's just like when you're building a building, if you decide to add, hey, let's add an additional floor. I want to pop a window out right here. Yeah, that's a problem typically, because I don't know if the engineering can handle that, right? So if you've engineered it differently from when it's being built, you can have some problems. So,
and I'm going to post also the YouTube video for our class, for our past class on website on a day.
Oh, you have the link for that video?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we have a YouTube channel. So Juan is providing the link to that class, a particular class, how to build a website in one day, if you are interested in, checking out.
And I just want to tell everybody, thank you for sticking with us today. I know it's like drinking from a river on the amount that you need to know. I've been using WordPress for over 10 years, and I still learn new stuff all the time. Elementor and Divi changed a lot of the process going forward. And there's other services like Elementor and Divi, but they're the two largest ones that are out there. So the chances of you finding a designer that uses those, you're probably in better territory than what you would be. But I want to thank you on behalf of our team here at the Small Business Education Program with Extension at UNR. Thank you, Juan and Reina, for accompanying me today. And thank you, everybody, for participating, and hope everybody has a great weekend.